Oh, yeah. You know what time it is. It's time for your daily dose of goodness. The dailybreadproject.com coming at you daily as of right now, 10 a.m. Eastern every day. And that might change in the future. We might be updating things. But one thing that will not change is that we are bringing you the light. We are bringing you the goodness. We are bringing you the positivity you need to get through the craziness out there. And I've got a very, very special guest with me today. I'm going to bring him on, and then I'm going to set this thing up to go live on Facebook, and then we are going to rock with you. And so, my super secret panelist, I'm going to bring you live while I get our Facebook thing going, and then we will do a proper intro and rock. So let's hope that the technology gods will allow us to stream this thing. If not, we can always record it. But so far, so good. Zoom's been behaving lately. Facebook's been behaving lately. And I guess that's why their stocks are all shooting through the roof right now. Everybody's using these things more than anything else out there. So it looks like it's going to work. I'm going to just get us going. And we are going live. Okay, so we'll do a proper intro. Oh, it looks like my panelist is my panelist here. Maybe he called in. Oh, I see. It's all muted for you, buddy. There we go. We are about to go live. All right. Let's see. We got nothing. Oh, maybe I can unmute you at the very least. Webinar is now streaming live to Facebook. Awesome. So let's do this. You are listening to the dailybreadproject.com. The world is crazy. There's chaos. Apparently, there's a pandemic. People are dying. Or are they? I don't know. But the news would have you believe that the world is ending. And that is exactly why we're bringing you the Daily Bread Project. Because there's actually some good in the world. There's actually some light. There's actually some positivity. Even though it is being squashed everywhere else, here we bring you the light daily. And I can't do it all by myself, so I have to enlist some guests. And today's guest is a special one. And in fact, I would say that out of all the people that I've had the pleasure of working with, out of all the partnerships, out of all the mentorships, this one person has been instrumental and foundational to all of my success. The guy taught me how to write, how to market, how to think, and it has all paid off. And so I welcome to the show, to the Daily Bread Project, Mr. Ben Settle. What is up, brother?
Hey, producer Jonathan, it is damn good to hear that sexy voice again.
Yeah. All right. You never heard it on your show, bro. All you do is talk. I listen. It's good to hear your voice.
Well, I appreciate you having me on after all these years. And what has it been, 2 years, 1 year? I don't know.
Oh, yeah, a couple of years. So, all right, let's do this. I'm going to give you the lay of the land, and then we'll go from there. So, what we talk about on this show is power, positivity, leadership, love, opportunity, all of those good things in life. And what we're going to start with, Mr. Settle, is where do you draw your power from?
Where do I draw power from? I think I draw my power from my contempt for humanity, producer Jonathan. I don't know how else to put that. Yeah, I don't know. I've never thought of that question before. I guess I could give the standard Academy Awards answer and say, God and everything, which would be true, from my point of view. But as far as like from a business point of view and all that, I think it's just I'm always thinking of the next thing. I'm always driven to do the next thing, and I don't let things get boring. And I think if you're just excited about what you do, that is powerful. That's something that drives you. Now I'm going to go on a little tangent here, Jonathan. I remember you love the tangents.
Of
You
course.
love the tangents. So right now I'm listen, I'm not going to name any names, but somebody I've been working closely with. Um, we've had this discussion about a certain younger generation, i.e., millennials, and not that this is going to blanket all of them, obviously, but there's a certain lack of hunger there in a lot of them. And he was talking about, he goes, I can't work with these guys. They're not hungry. They're not driven. And I'm like, yeah, I agree with you. As in general, I don't want to say they're all like that because there's some good ones, but I think that's it, man. You got to just be driven. You got to have something that you're reaching for constantly. You can't get bored. Jonathan, you remember when I used to have that like mythical 10-minute, not mythical, actually, it really was real, that 10-minute workday type lifestyle thing going?
Used to. I thought that you hung your hat on that and it was over.
For like 6 years, I had that perfect, wake up in the morning, scratch myself, take Zoe out, come in, write an email, and I'm done for the day. And and about 2 years ago, it dawned on me, this is the most boring existence ever. And so I just started doing more stuff that interested me. And now I'm up at 3 a.m. every day. I go to bed probably like at 8. I
Yeah.
don't last much longer anymore. But my point is, it's all driven by just having the next thing to do. So that was a very long-winded answer to your very short question, but I hope it answered it adequately.
Well, let's go back to that just a little bit. You said that, and you called out millennials specifically, which yeah, I hear that. But couldn't that be said for every generation? Didn't they think that about Gen Xers doesn't that just mean you're getting old?
I think it does, dude. And that was part of the conversation. See, we were just ripping on everything. We were so frustrated with some people on the team, and I think we all got butchered in that conversation. Certainly, my Gen X, uh, we did. I mean, we were the slacker generation. I mean, that was kind of the thing. We decided that. By the way, all this is. I hope this offends like everybody. I'm going to try to blanket offend everybody. We decided that millennials were just broke boomers,
Broke boomers.
and boomers are just well-to-do millennials with more of a work ethic. But Gen Xers are just complete slackers and not. I don't know if this is true or not. By the way, this is all generalization. This is all born out of frustration because of some team member stuff. So we all got it. I think the only generation we didn't pick on was the silent generation because really, you know, I think they put their time in and they deserve whatever there is that they're up to without anyone getting on their cases. But there's the thing. There's a lack of people being driven by anything. I think it's because life has been so easy for so long, right? Like you had all this easy, cheap credit access to credit for the last several years. Um, Everything was just going really good. It got so good that the biggest problem people had was whether or not you called them by the correct pronoun.
Oh,
You know, I don't think that's a problem. I think now it's like survival mode, right? It's like, maybe that wasn't so important after all. Maybe all these times I'm not talking about me, by the way. I'm speaking for someone else. I'm not even on social media. In fact, this is my first appearance on Facebook, dude. If I didn't even know this was going to be on Facebook, and like since end of 2018. But you know, there was a time when you could just hang out and argue on Facebook all day and everything's fine. Now you got 33 million people unemployed and all that suddenly. And I'm just thinking maybe that nonsense people used to waste all their time seething over just isn't that important anymore. I don't know.
dude, I love that. Right? It's putting things into perspective. Like you just said it so nicely. Is you had it too freaking easy, and now it's like, oh, wait a second, maybe I don't need to worry about all those little things, and I need to worry about eating and having a roof over my head and things like that, and not dying. Cool. So on that note, we should just move right into positivity.
All right.
And I think that even though you play the curmudgeon, you have a positive spirit, and I think it's uh rooted in that you're always looking for what's next and keeping yourself entertained. So tell us a little bit about how you protect your mind from the negativity out there, and what else you can give us on staying positive, or how you keep yourself positive.
Well, I'll tell you what. I am driven by negativity. So I know that's not what you want to hear, but for this segment, but it ultimately is positive. Is what I'm about to say. I am driven, like, positivity doesn't really get much done. At least that's been my experience. I used to be big into the positivity, thinking positive, and I'm not saying you shouldn't. But the real stuff gets done in this world because of raw negativity about something, right? Fear, like you were saying, now you got to eat. Well, that fear is going to drive you to do great things if you let it. When things are good and it's easy to be positive, well, I'm not saying nobody can take advantage of that, but it's not the same type of power. But let's say you're drawing on this negativity. It could be fear, it could be anger, it could be someone screwed you over. It doesn't really matter what it is. Ultimately, you can turn that into something good, right? Like if you let it. And just because I miss talking with you about these things, Jonathan, and I miss using my really bad movie references, I'm going to do that now. So there's this magnificent piece of art movie that I think every film critic loved. All the people loved it. It may have been the most beloved movie ever. It was called Kick-Ass 2. If you remember that. Is that Cupcake in the background?
Hey, Rach, wave to Ben Settle.
I miss Cupcake. But that movie Kick-Ass 2, there's this part where, like, this chick, her name is Night Bitch. That was her code name, her superhero name. She's like, I became Night Bitch because one day my sister never came home and they found her in a dumpster. But at least now I'm doing something positive about it. Going out fighting crime. So ultimately, I think you can turn bad things into good if you just let it drive you to do good things. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And it goes back to the idea of the carrot and the stick. Most people are motivated by not wanting to get the stick. And so if you can use that to do good, then you're making positive motion. And so even though you put it in the Ben Settle way and you try to just muddy it up, fear and negativity equal action, action equals good. I'm down with that. So let's talk about leadership, brother. I mean, you're talking about working with a team. You're talking about not being happy with your team, which I've been part of that, so I know where it comes from. How has your leadership changed, if at all, during these crazy times?
Well, I'll say this. I will admit something. I am completely insulated with having to deal with anyone on a team. My business partner in a new venture, he has to run the team. It's kind of like when you and I were doing El Bembo's Apprentice, that long-lived 3-day thing that we killed off. Like after 3 days, like, no. I didn't have to deal with any of that stuff that you had to deal with, right? Because I'm not a team player at all. I'm just not. I don't have the patience for it, and I don't really like dealing with it and all that, and the drama and the politics. I just don't have time for it. My time is better spent writing and selling and doing the thing I'm good at. So I don't really have to deal with much of that. But that doesn't mean that there is an aspect of leadership there too, that I'm half setting the agenda for what we're doing, and it's there. I think if I do any kind of leadership, and I don't certainly call myself a leader or anybody, it's just setting an example. I get up every day, I do my thing, constantly doing it. I email more than ever now. I think last year I launched 10 different books.
Yeah,
like a
I
new
remember
record.
that. Yeah, you're killing it. Everything was a book.
Everything's a book. I mean, I just kept launching these things. And here's the irony, and this is a little bit of a tangent, Jonathan. I'm sorry, I can't help it. But here was my plan last year in 2019. I'm going to write and launch all these books so that I'll have my suite of products, right? Because I pretty much only have 2 more left to go now. I'll do this year, I'll be done. And I thought, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do all this work, and I did do a lot of work last year. And then in 2020, I'm going to coast. Well, it didn't quite work out that way because toward the end of 2020, after basically right when I got done launching all these books, I got this opportunity to invest in the mobile app space. And so now, ever since then, I've been working even twice as hard on that stuff. And so it just never ends. And that's when I realized you just got to embrace it. Like, you know how people are always looking, and our mutual friend, Doberman Dan Gallipu, and I don't know if he listens to this or not, but him and I've had this discussion many, many times where he's like big on not doing a lot of work, like having your life set up so that customer service is taken care of. You don't really have to deal with anybody. Like he's lectured me many times. You shouldn't be doing your own customer service. And I get it. I really do get it. He comes from that point of view, and that's great. But I realize I'm not happy when I'm bored, like sitting around with nothing to do. Like I like just constantly working on stuff. And so I get so bored when I don't. So instead of having like a 10-minute workday, it's like a 10-hour workday, but it's not really work. I love it. Like it doesn't, we just did this launch this last few days, actually. Anyone who's on my list knows well about this because I emailed it so much. And I remember I've been working day and night just to get that launch going, which is really just a launch to kind of pre-launch our next launch, if that makes sense. So there's a lot more stuff coming. I've been working on nonstop this whole year, something like 200 pages worth of emails, like literally,
Wow.
just in like a span of a month, like a little mini novel, basically. And we're doing all this stuff. And whenever I get a break in the action, I'm like, God, I'm bored. So this whole launch, I was sitting there actually answering customer emails, which isn't even my job in this venture, because I wanted to, because I got bored when I didn't.
On a
And
$20
so
product. That's
on a $20 product, which is going to lead to, but that's going to lead to like much bigger things.
So
Like that was,
I'm just curious because I know I've already been through your funnel. You know that.
yeah.
Whether you've seen it or not, I've been through your funnel. So what's the actual cart value? I'm curious because the front end is $20 and then we've got upsells on the back. I'm just curious.
Oh yeah. Well, there's $20 and then there's a $21 upsell. And the reason we had to say 21 is because if you hit 20, the cart was getting kind of confused. It looked like a duplicate order. So we made the second one $21. And then the third one, I believe, was like $74. And then we sold my email players Listwell, which was like almost $300. And then after that was the affiliate launch Copynomicon, which I was discounting to $796 or $86, which nobody took, by the way, but they took the other ones.
Of course.
And so it was kind of like when we did Obembo's Apprentice. Remember, it was a $7 up front, but really it turned out that the average sale was like $28 after
What's your
upsell.
average on this one?
I'm not sure yet. I haven't looked at it, but
because I'm sure those upsells went real easy up to the 300. When you got to the 800, I was like, people are going to think about that.
Well, I'll tell you what, producer Jonathan, you were a proud one of those customers of the email players Listwell book I saw. So I was very grateful to you for that.
Of course. Half price. Who could turn it down? Because when you sell it and it's full price and then you see it for half price, it's like, how could I not?
Well, and the timing. And I know we're going on all these weird tangents here, but the timing. For years, and you've heard me preach this for years, quit screwing around and build your damn email list. Well, guess what? Nobody took that advice, and now that the economy went crappy, everybody wants to learn how to build a list. So I'd be foolish not to take advantage of that new demand, and so I did. And here you are.
All right, so let me just hit one more note on leadership, and that is, what about your leadership to the people who are on your list, to your clients, to your customers? Has anything changed there?
Not really, because I'm still doing the exact same thing I was doing before. So I don't know how much I've changed. That's up for other people to tell me, but I do know my list has changed quite a bit. They're leaning in more. They're more serious about stuff. And, like you say, it takes something negative to happen to kind of cause something, people, when times are good, nobody's proactive. Everybody, just wants to sit around and, they can react to things and it's okay because nothing bad really happens. Now that things kind of got crazy with Captain COVID, it's like suddenly everybody's in reaction mode and they know they got to do something. they basically didn't know what to do the last 10 years that you and I were telling them what to do. They magically just didn't know what to do. Suddenly now they're all listening and leaning in. Our old podcasts that you and I used to do are, I mean, I think from what I can tell, people are listening to those more than ever. And even though we're making it hard for them, thanks to you helping me with that. I
Oh, by
put
the
it on
way,
my,
it's all off of iTunes now too. And yeah, speaking of list building, just to emphasize what you just said, I don't know if it was when we changed the stuff on your taking down all the Ben Settle stuff, but they killed our YouTube channel. Like our YouTube channel has disappeared. Um,
wow.
yeah, I don't know what the hell happened. But the good news is we have an email list, so we can rebuild it.
Yeah, well, see, you just hit the nail on the head. It's like everybody wants to build their YouTube list when the YouTube list should come out of your email list and not the other way. Well, it could be the other way around too, but that list is so important. Like it's really the lifeblood of everything. And I think that's why when I sold Listwell in March, and I kind of was going to sell something else at the time, and I swapped it all out, and I said I got to take advantage of this sudden surge in demand. I mean, it sold more copies then almost than when I launched it last year because
Wow.
it's just a hot topic and people really need to know this stuff. So it's all, so I benefit, they benefit. There's no reason not to turn these types of things into something good. If you just put a little thought into it and you think about, I'll tell you what, Jonathan, now that we're talking about this, I'm guessing you've been asked this question many times. I know I certainly have. And people are like, in my marketing, how do I talk about, COVID without looking like I'm just like shamelessly trying to exploit it, right? I mean, it's like that was the big question. I see people talking about it constantly. I was invited to talk on Brian Kurtz's one of his mastermind calls recently, and that came up. He's like, "Oh, how do you handle this?" And my answer is like, it's not about you. It's about them. Like people want to complicate this, but the reality is your market will tell you how to talk to them if you just pay attention to them and mail them every day.
And I think most people are scared to mail every day. And I've taken a page from the Ben Settle book. I'm doing 2 or 3 emails a day sometimes. That's the way I feel about it. I'm like,
That's what I like to
like,
hear.
yeah, people are like, "What's wrong with you?" And I'm like, "Listen, I have a different perspective on email. I think people just use email back and forth. I don't use it like you, where your storytelling is incredible. I'm like short hits, different times a day. That's like I'm gonna get you or you're gonna leave. I don't care either way. I'm gonna win this one. But let's move on to opportunity, brother. What opportunities are you loving right now?
Well, whenever bad things happen, opportunities abound, right? And I'm loving the fact that people like remember that Warren Buffett quote about when the tide goes out, you get to see who is swimming naked. Like that. I'm not even a big Warren Buffett fan, but I'm probably a bigger Jimmy Buffett fan than a Warren Buffett fan. But I will say this: I think that's a great quote. I think it's very true. It's been astonishing watching the fake entrepreneurs kind of be exposed. The people who really they've been getting away with it because there's been easy credit, and a lot of people had easy credit and they could spend money on whatever nonsense they wanted. Now that's not happening anymore. And guys like you, guys like me, people who have built a list and have nailed it faithfully and kept in touch with their markets and didn't offer them nonsense and didn't offer them crap, we're benefiting from this right now. And I don't think that's going to change anytime soon because I really do believe deflation is going to hit us. I know everybody thinks it's inflation, but it's deflation, which means basically there's not going to be a lot of dollars out there. There's a lot of debt out there. That's what people think it is, money, but it's not dollars. So dollars are going to be very, very valuable. And if you have it, and if you've been building a business and selling wisely and taking care of your finances, you're going to do just fine. I really believe that. And I think that's the biggest opportunity is just people who have been responsible.
Bro, and I love that. I recorded a story about that exact thing that people watch who you're watching is what I said. And the people that were showing the cars and the houses and all the success, where are they?
Yeah,
What are they up
well,
to?
it's a good question. What happened to those? What happened to the stupid lifestyle, entrepreneurs and the influencers and all that? Like they're gone. they never had a chance anyway. Like they just, again, that stuff works during good times. You can get away with it, but you know what goes up always comes down. And isn't it amazing that there are people who have lived through probably, I don't know, I think I counted, I've been alive since the mid 70s. I think I've seen, you know, 6 or 7 downturns in my life. And they act like it's such a surprise when it happens. It's like, why didn't you see this coming? Like, what did you think was going to happen? But, you know, people are people.
Yeah, this is it's enlightening. So let's just fast forward 5 years from now. You're looking back at this time. Everybody's looking back. How do you want to be remembered, Ben?
Well, I want to be remembered as one of the people who wasn't swimming naked. So, you know, so
Great
I
mental
work hard at
picture.
it. Yeah, you know, I mean, you know, that's a rare privilege that, you know, not everyone just gets to have. So, you know, I mean that literally or figuratively, I guess. But that's what I just want to be remembered as the person who kept his head, who kept doing consistently what he was doing before all this happened, is still doing it at that time. And it's something that people can watch and say, look, it's really that simple. You don't need all this complexity. It's really simple. At the end of the day, it's very simple. And so, you know, build a list, sell it, something that can improve their lives, sell those buyers something else. That's what I'm going to remember for, is like bringing the basics of back to internet. Make email great again.
Make email great. We got to get some hats for that. All right. I love it. I love it. I love it. Mr. Ben Settle, thank you for bringing the light. That is an acronym, leadership in good and hard times. And I can attest that when I watch what you're doing, nothing has changed. It's business as usual. People, I'm still buying. I know everybody else is still buying. And so I know it works. The daily email is something that is the foundation to all of my success today. And I'm truly, truly grateful for everything that you have taught me, brother. BenSettle.com is where you find this guy. BenSettle.com, the hardest working slacker you'll ever meet. Thank you, brother.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. You have been listening to thedailybreadproject.com, coming at you live, 10 a.m. Eastern, every day, bringing you the light, bringing you the goodness, bringing you the positivity that you need to get through the BS out there. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll be back tomorrow.